with Aisha Al-Mazmi, only on Pulse 95.
Life is in the mundane. You can find life's best gifts and parcels and delight in the smallest of things. And this is coming from a small thing, a small story, or something very small that I noticed while I was driving, even though this is a place that I've driven across or next to for the past 6 years, give or take, and even longer, maybe since I started driving. I mean, I am a Sharjah girl, so I am around Sharjah quite often. So you would think that this is something I notice, and it's making me wonder, is it something new or has it always been there? As I was driving towards the Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, I'm not sure if you guys remember or know this fact, but it is right next to the Sharjah Archaeology Museum and the Sharjah Science Museum. And of course, there are going to be big banners and signals as to where these museums are. So while I was looking at it, for the first time, I noticed the small insignia that signifies, or at least tells us, that this is the Sharjah Archaeology Museum. So the little symbol right next to the name. And I realized that it's a tiny artifact of a camel. And it made me wonder, one, why haven't I really noticed that before? And two, what does this mean? I know it's a camel artifact, it's very obvious, but at the same time, I really wanted to know, was it something that they came up with or something that it existed and they decided to use it as a signifier of the Sharjah Archaeology Museum? So when you see that symbol of the artifact of the camel, you'd say, yeah, that's the Sharjah Archaeology Museum. And it genuinely made me think about it, and I really want to look into it. I do have maybe a person or two that I can call up or speak to at the Sharjah Museums Authority to ask about the symbol, because it truly has been mind-boggling, to the very least, for the past 2-3 hours. I've been thinking about it nonstop. But also, this made me take a moment to notice the Sharjah Science Museum symbol as well, because now I'm like, okay, I know what this is and I have a whole quest to follow. And then I looked at the Sharjah Science Museum from afar while I was driving. It seemed like very like the typical kind of let's say symbol you'd expect here in the UAE or in Sharjah, where it had sort of like a kind of a dome or sort of an entrance that is very similar to the architecture of the UAE or the architecture here in the Emirate of Sharjah. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense, but how does that connect to science? And that's when if you look very closely in between the palm trees and in between that, let's call it that door or that gate, you'd see an atom, like a little tiny atom in between. And I loved that thing. It was adorable and it just felt perfect. Personally, I might make the atom a little bit bigger and maybe just switch up a couple of small things. But who am I? I'm not a graphic designer, but I would definitely pass it on to anybody from the Sharjah Science Museum if I can. But it genuinely made me want to notice those small things even more. I've been, as I was driving again, the drive from the Sharjah Science Museum and Archaeology Museum to the Sharjah Broadcasting Authority is literally 5 seconds. So I barely had that moment to go and search for other symbols around me, especially since there is one big sign next to the co-op, next to the two museums, that has a whole bunch of areas and places with their tiny symbols. And part of me genuinely wanted to stop on the side and check out the symbols. And that again goes back to the whole thing where you can find the most mundane things quite beautiful and fun and exciting. You can find small gifts in the smallest of things. And now I'm truly am going on a quest. I am not kidding. I'm not joking. I will figure out the story behind that small camel artifact that is the symbol of the Sharjah Archaeology Museum. So what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna put it out there right now on Eyes On. I'm gonna, guys, keep me in track. You guys, I want you to make sure that you remind me to go and check back to ask why they chose this. Is it real? Have I seen it in real life and I just forgot about it? Because I've been to the archaeology museum, but I haven't been there for a very long time. So maybe it exists and I just forgot about it. So we're on a quest to find out about the symbol of the Sharjah Archaeology Museum. Is that little camel artifact real or a figment of someone's very creative imagination when somebody asks them to create or make something that signifies or symbolizes the Sharjah Archaeology Museum? So for that, we're gonna find out. Just wait for me a little bit longer. And with that, I say welcome back to Eyes On, where we talk about Sharjah, the UAE, and every single thing in between, or as much as we can with things in between. Today on the agenda, we're going to talk about the Sharjah Social Empowerment Foundation collaborating with the Pink Caravan Mobile Clinic of the Friends of Cancer Patients to carry out a breast cancer screening campaign, and the reason why this is important, and the fact that the Pink Caravan is accessible to every single person here in the UAE. Your own institution can speak to them, and you can have the Pink Caravan at wherever you work at or whatever you believe is a place for people to come together and screen for breast cancer. And another very exciting news, I'm pretty sure you guys heard of this by now, and it's the fact that the Dubai Government Human Resources Department announced the pilot launch of its Our Flexible Summer initiative, which aims to reduce the working hours of participating government entities during the summer and kind of trial a 4-day work week similar to what we have here in the Emirate of Sharjah. So this is very interesting. This is very exciting as well. So we're going to see how that works out and what happens with that. And we can also talk about the studies that have been conducted by the Emirate of Sharjah about how effective a 4-day work week and 3-day weekend is on the psyche of people. A little bit later, we're going to talk about a specialty coffee course at the House of Wisdom. It's 3 days long, so sign up for it. The places are limited in availability. And also, Dubai Culture and Art Authority launched the open call for the 13th edition of the Sikka Art Design Festival. Are you an artist? Are you a designer? This is an open call for you. A very exciting Thursday as we launch in and go into our Sharjah weekend. So happy Sharjah weekend if you observe a Sharjah weekend, or happy normal weekend as we get closer to a regular one.